Hyundai, in the recent past, has been focusing their attention not only in becoming a more premium brand, but also in becoming a more performance-oriented brand. We've seen the i30N, which is actually a very great car. We would really like to test that out later on. But in North America, they don't get the i30N, but instead they have this, the Hyundai Veloster. And now for this year, they're releasing a new facelifted version. So let's see what it's all about. The front of the Hyundai Veloster has a very familiar face. It does look very Hyundai i30-like, what we have back in Europe, with these very straight, narrow headlights with LED headlamps, a cosmetic air intake design element over here, and a very snouty, narrow front grille. I mean, when I say narrow, it becomes narrower, but the entire grille is very large. It's very singular. There's a very large grille area. Very interesting texture and pattern through here. And the center part of the grille is blocked, but you have intakes on the top and the bottom. The logo is two-dimensional now because this also houses the radar sensor. The new Veloster also has a whole host of upgraded driver assistance systems and safety features as well. Towards the bottom, we have a black diffuser running all around the front of the car. The side profile of the Hyundai Veloster is really unique. It kind of blends both the characteristics of a hatchback and a coupe. Up front, well, we start off with the 18-inch wheels. They're pretty cool. They kind of remind me of a Ninja Star because they have these sharp edges over here. The brakes have also been slightly upgraded for at least the end performance version, which I'll show you guys in a minute. But as we go further down the side, there aren't too many extravagant design lines on the Veloster. We have one swooping curve that doubles back and fades away towards the bottom of the car. This curve kind of reminds me of the H in the Hyundai logo. Don't you guys think so, the way it curves down? The door itself is very smooth, just a little bit of a curve over here, but apart from that, not many creases or lines to speak of. A shiny metal flake finished rear view mirror cap. As we go further down the side, well, we see the roof line climbs and it stays pretty level up till about here, and then it dives a little bit, not too much. It is a coupe, but it's still a hatchback, so this is a complete hatch. I'll show you that in a minute. On the top, you can also see the very large panoramic sunroof. So this is a three-door plus hatch. That's an interesting feature of the Hyundai Veloster. I'll show you guys that in a minute. The driver's side, there's only one door. It's a longer door, whereas on the passenger side, we have a front door, which is shorter than the driver's side door, and we have a third door over here. And like I said, there's only one door on that side, so to get out of the other side on the left-hand side, you can't. You all have to enter and exit from this side itself. So let's take a look around the back of the car. Here at the back, the Veloster has a small spoiler on the top. The rear window is fairly small, to be honest. We'll see how much that affects the visibility once we hop inside. The tail lamps have a nice, interesting design. They have this sideways sleeping T sort of design, perhaps for the Veloster, the T, I don't know. It looks kind of nice. Strong haunches on this side of the bumper. A lot of interesting creases and curves as we go towards the center. Hyundai and the Veloster logo. Very neatly executed. This is the 1.6T. This is a 1.6-liter four-cylinder turbocharged petrol engine. I'll show you guys the different engine options and open the hood in a minute, so we'll skip that for now. And as we go further down, we have the lower part of the bumper with a diffuser and two centrally mounted exhaust tips. And these are real exhaust tips. They look really cool. I wonder how they sound. There's a button over here to release the hatch. it opens. You have a pretty deep boot. It's not that bad. There's a large lip. And the loading area, well, you can move this parcel shelf out of the way, of course. But it's a bit tight. Of course, it's still a coupe hatchback, so it's not really going to be great. But it's pretty good, nevertheless. And, well, yeah, that's about it. This is what I was talking about. On the driver's side, you have one long door and no door for the passenger side. So to get inside from this side of the car, you're going to have to tumble the front seat. Like I said, this is a very large door. Looks pretty cool. I like two-door coupes. The materials up here are hard plastic, unfortunately. But at least down here you have much more plush materials for your arms and your elbow. A large door handle over here and the release latch. Some door pockets down here as well. Controls for your windows, etc. In this turbo model, of course, you have different versions of seats and such. We have sport seats. They're adjustable manually down here to lift the seat up and down. You have some lumbar support, automatic lumbar support buttons over here to recline the seat, and of course to tumble it with one easy switch to get people in the back. We'll check that out in a minute, but for now let's sit inside. It's making a really annoying bonging sound, if you guys can hear. Yeah, I know the door is open, I just opened it myself. You don't have to tell me that all the time. But getting inside is pretty easy. It is a bit low and the roofline is a bit low, but thanks to this very large opening, getting inside is not that hard, it's not that cumbersome. Finding a comfortable seating position is also very easy. The steering wheel can be adjusted only for rake. You cannot adjust it for reach. That's interesting. I wish they had done something about that. And we have hard materials on the top of the dashboard, over here and over here. So I really wish they would do something about that as well to maybe improve some of the materials. The entire body, everywhere, is only just hard plastic. But anyway, let's get inside. Let's check out all of the systems. Here in the cockpit, well, the steering wheel, first of all, has a nice grip to it. It's fairly thin. It's not very chunky, but it's got a nice contour to which really, lets you put your thumb across over here and get a nice grip. You have paddle shifters for the 7-speed dual clutch automatic transmission that you get with this turbo. Buttons for your cruise control, adaptive cruise control, distance for the front car. Settings over here, volume control, telephone control, mode, voice commands. There's a nice red stripe in the middle of the bottom of the steering wheel, which is interesting because this kind of reminds me of that. They usually have a sports car sometimes have that a stripe on the top dead center, so that you can. It's supposed to help you in a race, as if you're a race car driver, but here it's on the bottom. Nevertheless, you have some other assistant controls for your lane keeping, heads-up display, and things like that. And we have two analog clocks for the tachometer and the speedometer, and a screen in the middle. Of course, right now the engine is off, so we don't have the key with us to turn that on, unfortunately. But if you look over here, we have a piece of plexiglass, which gives you the heads-up display. I usually don't like these kinds of heads-up displays. From my experience driving cars with heads-up display, I usually like the ones which do project them directly onto the windshield itself. So overall, I think they've done some things to cut the cost in terms of quality of build materials inside and this heads-up display. But the tagline for the Hyundai Veloster is that it's affordable performance. So they've given you a good drivetrain, and they have really developed this car really well. I'll talk about that in a minute. And the engine and drivetrain handling is fantastic, and all of these creature comforts, which I guess people are willing to sacrifice on, they have saved cost over there. We have a touchscreen infotainment system over here, which has your usual vehicle navigation, phone projection with Apple CarPlay and Android Auto, which is always a plus point. It seems to be pretty useful. It's not that bad. It's a little bit slow to react to your touch, but on the whole, I would say it's not too bad. SD card slots over here, and hazard lights, hotkey buttons for your infotainment system, knobs and buttons, which are nice. I think this design is something refreshing, something we don't usually see in European cars. Engine start-stop button, climate control, again with knobs and buttons. This is, I think, really well executed. The air conditioning vents, 12-volt power socket, USB charger, auxiliary, another USB charger, inductive phone charging over here, your 7-speed dual clutch transmission with drive mode selectors, which is also something that has been improved for this current generation of the Veloster. Seat heaters on either side and some cup holders, a central armrest. Let's give it the shake test. Well, yeah, that cost cutting is, you can see that a little bit. I mean, this entire piece is kind of wobbling a little bit. But again, you know, if you get the good performance, I think, and you get a good price, I would also be okay with buying a car with hard plastics, because if it drives well, I don't really care. I'm not going to be sitting around and feeling the car up all the time. And lots of storage spaces, like I said here. A pretty decent glove box. A nice, interesting matte black inlay with a checkered flag. A nice little detailed touch. And finally, up top over here, we have a sunroof, which unfortunately I cannot open. But this is nice because it's completely automatic. It's not a sliding thing with your hand. I mean, the G-Class that we saw recently also has a sliding, manually sliding roof liner, sunroof liner. So, and sunglasses holder over there. Now, we know that it's easier to get into a car when you have an actual door, but what's important is, what if you don't want to use the door on that side, or you're forced to get in from this side? Let's see how well it is, how easy it is to do that in the Veloster. When you tumble the seat forward, the seat does not slide forward on its own, it doesn't detach, and that bonging sound is really annoying. So, let me see if I can, ow, it's pretty tight, I will be honest. My foot is stuck in the seat belt, and let's see. There we go. This was my driving position. It is snug back here, I'll be honest. The window is also incredibly small, so it does feel really claustrophobic in here. I can imagine with the sunroof things will be a little bit better, but I wouldn't really count on it too much. That sloping roofline and small window, rear window, also kind of detracts from helping this car feel spacious on the inside and the back seat. It's kind of dark and cramped in here. I don't really have too much space to put my feet under the seat. It's really pushing down on my feet. Of course, the seat is in the lowest position, which I think it would be since it's a sporty car. The seat would always be pretty low. Knee room is acceptable. It's adequate. I'm 5'8" or 1.7 meters, and this is set to my driving position. So with that in mind, it's not that bad. The seat itself is actually comfortable. That is pretty good. My knees are a little bit up high, so it kind of, I'm sure that it'll get a little bit painful after a while because there's no support. Headroom is at a premium, unfortunately. I have about that much of headroom. So Thomas, he probably wouldn't fit in here. And this is a strict 2+2. Although there is no transmission tunnel, there is also no center seat. It has these cup holders and this parcel tray instead. There is no armrest either, but you can tumble these seats over here, like such. It doesn't really fold completely flat, and neither is it flush with the trunk. There's a little bit of a lip, but again, I think for what this car is supposed to do, it's a sporty hatchback. It's a hot hatch on a budget with the performance and the drivetrain to back it up, but not really all these creature comforts. And because of these compromises, it's able to offer you a better price. So yeah, I don't mind this at all. Here we have a gray color. This also has a different engine. So basically the turbo and the base variant, well, the base quote-unquote variant, look very similar on the outside, but if you look behind me, that's the N Performance Edition. It looks a lot more different, has a lot more special features in terms of performance. We'll come to that in a minute, but just take a quick look at this. And also because this is the base variant, for example, you'll notice that this has a three-dimensional logo, which also means this does not have a lot of the driver assistance systems, such as adaptive cruise control. And as well as the headlights are also a little bit different. While you're doing that, I'm going to open the hood and let's talk about the engines. Let's see if I can figure out how to open this. There we go. All right, so this is the base engine. This is a 2-liter, 4-cylinder, naturally aspirated engine, which makes 147 horsepower. This engine you can get either with a 6-speed manual or a 7-speed dual clutch, as with the turbo that we just saw. This is obviously transversely mounted, hence it's only a front-wheel drive car. Now, the N Performance Edition that we saw on the side behind me has a 2-liter turbocharged 4-cylinder petrol engine, which makes 275 horsepower over here. This is the big daddy, the performance edition of the Hyundai Veloster. This has been developed by Mr. Albert Biermann from BMW M Performance on the Nürburgring. This car also gets upgraded brakes. If you come down here and check it out, bigger performance brake calipers. It has adaptive suspension, so it sits lower and it can be stiffened if required. This has some more special features on the body, like if we go down here, you see that red stripe. This very beautiful baby blue color and a carbon fiber effect extra rear spoiler. And, oh yeah, by the way, this is the N badge. Now, Hyundai is also going to be coming out with a lot of different N versions. While we're at it, down here, this has 2 very large exhaust pipes on either side, but real exhaust as well. I really like that. This is the first truly performance-oriented Hyundai that you can get in the US. Speaking of purity and true driving pleasure, this comes only with a 6-speed manual, or at least that's what they've decided for now. Once it officially goes on sale, they might change this and offer the dual clutch as well. We're not sure. Full fabric performance seats, which is what we always prefer here in Autogefühl. Very nice with side bolstering, really sporty. Full black interior decor as well. The last but not least, the engine from the first car that we saw over there, the orange turbo, is a 1.6 4-cylinder turbo, which makes 201 horsepower, and that car can also be had with the 7-speed dual clutch transmission. The Hyundai Veloster really seems like a very interesting proposition for me because it has a lot of important aspects that make a performance car a performance car. It has been upgraded with better chassis stiffness, it has better torque vectoring, better driver assistance systems, really powerful engines. You have multiple choices like the naturally aspirated 2-liter, the the turbocharged 1.6, or the Big Daddy N Performance 2-liter turbocharged engine with 275 horsepower, a nice manual 6-speed transmission. They've really focused on its cornering abilities, thanks to Mr. Albert Biermann's involvement in this project. Since he was from BMW M Performance, he really knows what he's talking about. And this car has been developed at the Nürburgring, which always means that cars on the Nürburgring can handle really well. The new version also gets the adaptive suspension as well. So overall, it's a great package. Yes, you have to make some compromises. The interior build quality and the material is not fancy, it's not plush, it's just hard. But, you know, if this is going to be undercutting the Golf R or the Focus RS, and, you know, it has the performance to back itself up, why not? Who really needs all those plush materials in a sports car, or in a hot hatch rather? And it retains a lot of its quirky characteristics, like this 3-door configuration. And even though the back seat and the trunk are not that big, it's still a pretty practical car. It has enough space in the front and a lot of places to keep your things in the cup holders and the cubby holes and glove box and things like that. We don't really know what the price is going to be yet, and we also are fairly certain that we're not going to get the Veloster anytime soon in Europe, which is a shame, really. But overall, I think this is a good car, and I would really be interested in trying it out. What do you guys think? Do you like the Veloster? Do you want to see this in Europe? And all you American viewers, well, I would really recommend that you guys come check this car out. Let me know what it is like, and if you have one, if you have the previous one, what is wrong with it, what did you like about it, put it down in the comments below.